Tonight on CBC Vancouver News. The drastic shift in the guidance around alcohol.
Literally any drinking is associated with an increased risk of cancer.
And the increasing pressure to better warn Canadians. BC's Premier lends a lifeline to struggling forestry workers.
We want to support them, and this $90 million is going to go a long way to doing that.
As hundreds more are set to lose their jobs. They should be cozying up in a warm den.
They haven't given us that much of a break this year.
Why BC's black bears are increasingly staying awake during the winter months.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Anita Bathe. We begin tonight with the strongest warning yet about the health risks from drinking alcohol. A new report finds no amount of booze is completely safe. As Garrett Barry reports, the pressure is now growing to use cancer warning labels on containers.
For the past decade or so, we've heard that 15 drinks a week for men and 10 a week for women was low risk, but this new report changes that calculation completely. The new guideline, 2 drinks a week for anybody to be in that low risk category. It's driven by a review of 5,000 studies, many of them brand new.
There have been huge steps in our understanding of the relationship between alcohol and several types of disease, including 7 types of cancer. We're also much more refined in our methodologies, and that has had huge impact in the way we understand the relationship between alcohol and cardiovascular disease.
That link between alcohol and cancer is one of the driving forces behind this new guidance. The authors write that it's often overlooked, but recent data suggests alcohol causes 7,000 cancer deaths each year in Canada.
It's a product that is consumed by 80% of Canadians, and they have a right to know about the effects of this type of consumption.
The guidelines state that less than 2 drinks weekly is low risk. Between 3 to 6, they say you're at an increased risk for cancer, breast and colon cancer, for example. And after 7, your risk for heart disease or stroke increases. The risks increase rapidly with each additional drink after that. And these authors are pushing for another change too, not just to drinking habits in the country, they also want to see standardized labels added to alcohol that show just how many serving sizes are in each package.
They are trying to enable people to make more informed decisions for themselves, and I think, that's obviously a good thing to do. I don't know about statements like, quote, no alcohol consumption is safe, right? Like that may be true, but is that really helpful? I think we have to appreciate that alcohol is a part of many people's social events or activities.
The authors say people who want to decrease their alcohol use need support, and that support is information that makes it easier to make hard decisions. Garrett Barry, CBC News, St. John's.
Now, over the years, we've seen those warning labels added to different products like cigarettes or cannabis. But as the call for the addition of labels to alcohol intensifies, people on the streets of Vancouver seem to be divided over its potential impact.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, they've done it with cigarettes, and there's a definite risk that's been associated with alcohol consumption. So I think it would be good.
I don't think labels help at all. Like I don't think they help having people stop doing what they're doing.
I guess it's irrelevant for me. It's like I have a label or not. It's no don't change nothing if the people continues to use it. And I guess it's the same with cigarettes. I saw people that they have the label and say a lot of things for they stop to smoke, but they continue to do it.
The report also had a local connection. The director of the Canadian Institute for Substance Use Research at the University of Victoria was part of the project's expert panel.
When I go to the grocery store and I buy a can of peas, I will know all this detailed nutritional information. And yet when it comes to alcohol, it's sort of a glaring exception with respect to other substances in Canada, as well as food products in general.
Earlier this month, the World Health Organization also called for alcohol labeling. Health Canada, meanwhile, says it looks forward to receiving the updated guidance and reviewing recommendations. And coming up later in our show, we will have an interview with Dr. Srinivas Murthy, who will tell us how seriously we should really be taking these new guidelines. Well, a crash between a truck and a passenger vehicle near Castlegar has left 3 people dead, including a newborn. The accident happened Monday on Highway 3 near the remote community of Thrums just before 4 p.m. A 26-year-old man, 25-year-old woman, and an 8-year-old baby were declared, 8-month-old baby rather, were declared dead at the scene. The 4th passenger was a 2-year-old taken to hospital and is expected to fully recover. Police say the initial investigation suggests the driver of the car made a U-turn into the path of the pickup truck.
We'll be looking at every aspect of this investigation to determine if there's any criminality. At this particular point, we don't have that information to suggest that that drugs or alcohol or speed or anything like that was a factor.
Police say the driver of the pickup is recovering from minor injuries, and they are continuing their investigation to see if any other factors are involved. Well, Mounties are looking for 3 men after uncovering a drug super lab and seizing 27 million fentanyl doses. Over the weekend, RCMP say they executed 2 search warrants on properties in Abbotsford and Surrey. They found fentanyl, MDMA, and cannabis extracts, as well as a mobile drug lab. A super lab is classified based on operational capacity and is capable of producing large quantities of illicit drugs.
It's a process of our criminal justice system, so individuals are arrested and charges would have to be approved by Crown prosecutors. That takes some time, and the investigations have to take their course. So individuals are released after being initially arrested unless certain conditions are not met.
BC RCMP are asking the public's help to locate 41-year-old Kevin Assi Gonzalez, 34-year-old Jemroy Ibarra, and 36-year-old De Quan Fung. They also believe Ibarra may not be in the country anymore. Well, the province has announced $90 million today to create manufacturing jobs in BC's forest industry. It's a move that comes a week after Canfor announced the closure of its Prince George pulp and paper mill and the loss of 300 positions. The province says the BC Manufacturing Fund will support innovation in the industry and will be rolled out over the next 3 years. It will focus on shovel-ready projects.
The workers and Minister Ralston, Minister Bailey, and myself had a wide-ranging conversation about making sure that the workers who are affected by this shutdown are looked after. And I made the commitment to them, as did both ministers, that we will be standing with them and supporting them through this incredibly difficult time for them and their families. The provincial government is there for them.
The new funds are in addition to the $185 million already in the current budget. That aim is to offset the economic impacts of the changing forest industry. Well, to Surrey now, which will soon be home to BC's tallest building. A 67-story mixed-use high-rise is being proposed near the Surrey Central SkyTrain station. If it passes, it would have up to 750 new residential homes, along with a 7-story commercial and office podium. All but 2 people were opposed to the project at Surrey Council's meeting last night. One says they're worried about congestion.
The important thing here is the TIA and your understanding. Will the public be safe? Will traffic be safe in this immediate intersection area? I don't think so.
If approved, the project will be taller than the Living Shangri-La in downtown Vancouver and exceed the 65-story Gilmore Place in Burnaby that's set to be built by 2025. Some big changes could be coming to a very popular Metro Vancouver lake. Imperial Oil says it may remove its century-old dam on Sassamat Lake in Port Moody. The lake is a big destination for people across the region, but the water level could drop by up to 2 meters if the dam is gone. The company says it could replace the dam, but would prefer to get rid of it. Some city councillors say it would be a huge loss to the community.
Because with the 2 options, obviously the preferred for the public would be to have little to no impact on the beaches, the marine life, it's been there for so long that the replacement would be the preferred option.
Environmental studies will be done for both of those options. An iconic Vancouver summer event will not be returning this year. After being crushed by post-pandemic bills, the Vancouver Folk Music Festival says it won't be back, or perhaps ever. And as the CBC's Zara Premji explains, it's left musicians and fans in shock.
I'm going to cry. It's the first volunteer gig I ever did. It got me hooked.
For over 4 decades, running the Vancouver Folk Music Festival has been a feature in many musicians and music lovers' summer calendars. And the cancellation of the 2023 festival, along with its ominous future, have left many struggling to find the right words.
I am completely shocked, heartbroken, mystified, confused.
It feels like a huge loss, to the cultural heart of this city.
For artists like Don Pemberton, the festival has always been something out of a fairy tale.
It was like this magical land where there's tons of music, tons of great food, music from all over the world, lots of people. And it was like one of the first spaces as a teenager where I could go and just feel totally, completely safe.
And she isn't alone.
The Folk Fest was this magical place.
And for others, it's where they discovered these artists.
Dan Mangan and so many other artists were introduced to me at the Folk Festival.
It is sad. It was something to celebrate each year.
It started in 1978, and COVID has been one of the main culprits of its demise, according to organizers, along with rising costs.
It was a very difficult decision to come to because we really do care about the festival. We felt that there was just too much of a gap in terms of what it would cost compared to what we could bring in.
For this 35-year volunteer, the loss of the 2023 festival and its unclear future is too heavy of a weight to bear.
It's the end of an era for sure. It's the end of an institution. It's the end of a way of life, really.
Many artists describe it as a place they got their start.
Before I played the festival, I could maybe, play to 150 people at the media club. And that weekend was just this momentous, like a gathering of momentum.
On February 1st, members of the society will vote on whether or not to dissolve it entirely, a move the president says is needed if they intend to pay debts, but it won't be an easy decision. Zara Premji, CBC News, Vancouver.
And sticking with music, the name may not ring a bell, but the face may be familiar. Diljit Dosanjh is an Indian singer and actor widely popular in British Columbia. You may have seen his picture on the side of a bus or on a billboard as ambassador for a couple of local South Asian grocery brands. This spring, Dosanjh will hit the stage at one of the best-known music festivals. As Belpuri reports, local fans are ecstatic, and industry experts say his latest achievement is a huge step for Punjabi music.
Last June, Diljit Dosanjh was the first Punjabi singer to sell out Rogers Arena. This April, he'll record another first at California's Coachella Valley Music Festival.
That's a huge honor, not just for the Punjabi artists, but I shall say to the entire South Asian community.
Coachella is one of the top music events in the world.
To have Diljit Dosanjh there, who is going to be the first Punjabi artist, he only sings Punjabi. So if he is going to be there and performing there for hundreds and thousands of people, that means, this music is going to be resonating and going to be accepted by all those who are there, irrespective of what music they follow.
Dosanjh is recognized as one of the top performers in the Punjabi entertainment industry. He couldn't be reached for this story. He's on the set of his latest movie shoot.
I saw in an interview that he did recently that he was surprised. He booked this earlier this year or last year, and he said, well, I knew this was a big deal for me. I knew it was a personal achievement for me, but to think that there are so many other people who are happy for me and celebrating this, I had no idea.
Coachella regularly attracts up to 300,000 people. As it diversifies, Dosanjh is one of a handful of South Asian performers on this year's bill. Pakistan's Ali Sethi sings in Bengali, but also in Punjabi.
Seeing Punjabi musicians and musicians with Bengali connections and, musicians who have roots in South Asia, but then are doing music that is very, very sort of cosmopolitan and hybrid and interestingly mixed up. I think those are all really exciting aspects of this year's festival.
Dosanjh is based in India, but regularly in BC, shooting movies and producing music. He's also a brand ambassador for 2 large BC-based companies.
We really do claim him as our own, and we really do love him, and we, every time he breaks another barrier, we all celebrate it.
Dosanjh's success, fans say, is a milestone for everyone. Belle Perry, CBC News, Vancouver.
Yeah, and one more BC connection. A couple of Diljit Dosanjh's biggest hits have actually been produced by Surrey-based music producer DJ Intense. Something else that's very intense, Johanna, clearly as showcased on you, is this rain.
That was a great segue. Very cool. Yeah, we are getting it in spades right now, Anita. This is that final low pressure system we've been waiting for. It was raining this morning, but it actually eased, and now it is coming down heavily. Let me show you a time lapse as we look out downtown Vancouver from our live cam on top of the CBC building. And you can see as the sun rose, that sound of rain was present once again this morning. That's 2 mornings with that driving rain. Now, as I mentioned, it did ease around noon, and we had a couple of dry hours. This is a separate system. So let me show you what it looks like on the radar. The yellows means intense rainfall. So that's what we're seeing across a huge swath of Metro Vancouver. And that band of intense rain will continue tracking east. So heads up if you're watching from Tri-Cities, this is headed your way. And notice the blue or the purple, that's the snow line. So we are getting some snow with this system for the locals. I'd say it's down around 1,000, 1,200 meters. The rain will continue through the overnight, Anita, and into Wednesday morning. The other thing that we're waiting for, the winds. So I'll time out how gusty things will get. I might see you inside, though, for the next one.
Come on, stick it out. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Well, former BC Lions quarterback Nathan Rourke is heading to Florida. Rourke has inked a deal with the Jacksonville Jaguars after embarking on a tour where he met with 12 NFL teams. He was named 2022's most outstanding Canadian by the CFL, becoming the first quarterback in franchise history to earn the achievement.
It's a realization of a dream, right? So, I mean, I've had this, the goal to be able to be down there for a while since I was in high school, and every kind of step that I've taken from there has tried to, led to this opportunity. And so I'm very much looking forward to it, and I'm ready to get started.
Rourke still has a year left on his deal, but he was eligible to sign a future deal south of the border. The final decision was between Jacksonville, the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Cleveland Browns, with the Jaguars sealing the touchdown. Okay, we mentioned yesterday we here at the CBC are interested in doing some special programming about love in all its forms, and we've actually already gotten some great submissions, so thank you for that. Whether it's a windswept romance, a parent who always showed you patience, or a friend who helped you move a couch up 3 flights of stairs, we want to share your story with our audience. To nominate a special someone, email us at bcasks@cbc.ca. That's bcasks@cbc.ca with the subject line Love Story 2023, and we will do our best to share it in one of our broadcasts next month.
Your anxiety is very high to push you not to focus on to get more babies.
It's being described by some experts as a population crisis. For the first time since the 1960s, the number of people in China has gone down. Why some are surprised, and what country could soon take its place. Next. Thanks for joining our commercial-free live stream tonight. For many people, winter on the prairies is not always fun, but believe it or not, there is beauty to be found in all of that cold and snow. Ethan Williams has come up with a list of 5 winter weather phenomena you can enjoy on the prairies this season and what causes them.
There's plenty of winter wonder to be seen on the ground or in the sky. We'll start with number 5, sundogs. These appear as halos around the sun and usually show up when it's really cold.
Rays from the sun pass through certain shaped ice crystals, and the ice crystals can either be up in cirrus clouds at very high altitude, or they can be very close to the ground.
And sundogs are just one of numerous types of sun and moon halos. Number 4 is rime ice. We've seen a lot of this recently. And it's the result of dense fog. Fog is made up of tiny water droplets, and when fog forms below freezing, the droplets freeze. And when the droplets freeze on things like tree branches, they make beautiful scenes like this. But rime ice can cling to power lines, and it's been known to cause widespread power outages. Number 3 is a pretty fascinating one: snow rollers. They're like winter tumbleweeds or snowballs, but formed by nature instead of humans. You need 3 key ingredients to form them.
Generally, you need fresh snow, and you have to have pretty mild temperatures as well, so that the snow is sticky. And if the winds are persistent too, not so much gusty winds, but a persistent wind, and pushing it, it helps make those rollers and keep them going.
And they can get pretty large too, like this one seen earlier this month in Saskatchewan. Number 2 will make you scratch your head. It's Fata Morgana. This type of mirage makes faraway objects look inverted or even upside down. It's caused by warm air, from Chinook winds for instance, interacting with cold winter air. This bends waves of light near the ground, creating a mirror image of an object or making it look kind of wonky. It can happen on land or water. And finally, the Aurora Borealis. No, it doesn't just happen during winter, but it is a good time to see it.
The nights are really long, so there's a lot of darkness, and the aurora, is obviously visible when it's dark. We tend to have clear skies in the winter. We have, really cold temperatures, which means the skies are really clear.
And with the sun reaching the peak of an 11-year cycle, that means more solar storms and likely more aurora over the next couple of winters. So the next time you get the winter blues, remember, some of the sights on these snowy, cold days and nights are pure gold. Ethan Williams, CBC News, Regina.
Let's go back to our top story now and the new guidelines around alcohol use. The report from the Canadian Centre on Substance Use and Addiction states no amount of alcohol is safe, especially when it comes to cancer risk. Dr. Srinivas Murthy joins us now. From a data perspective, how seriously do we actually need to take these recommendations? Because for many, cutting out alcohol completely is a massive change.
Yeah, and I think it's something that public health agencies and guideline groups have been talking about for decades. And that alcohol has always been associated with harm. And I think as more data emerges, the harm that's associated with alcohol is just more and more being revealed. So the question of how serious we should take these recommendations, like any recommendations, we should take them seriously. It's obviously a risk-benefit conversation with each individual. I think largely less alcohol is going to be better than more alcohol. I think people knew that. I think this just emphasizes that approach across the population.
And we're seeing here the risks, stated to be worse for women than they are for men. What is a woman's average risk of cancer, and how does drinking more than 2 drinks a week change that?
Yeah, and so when they say women have higher risk than men, it's not at that low levels of alcohol consumption, but it's at the very higher end of things where their risks start to increase much more than men, specifically for health-related things like cancer. I will say that the overall risk of male drinking is much, much higher than the risks of female drinking or women drinking. And that's largely because of both health risks, volume consumed, and then external risks like driving and violence. But I think in general, all populations should take these recommendations seriously.
Do you think standardized labels added to alcohol containers would actually make a difference? Do people actually pay attention to that? Because that is now there is growing pressure to do that.
I think we're learning more and more that alcohol is associated with these severe diseases, and getting people to know that while they consume it can decrease those risks. There have been studies looking at putting those labels on, and people have drank less when they were exposed to those labels. So if the goal from the public health organizations is to decrease consumption, labels would help with that. And I think that's something that we should really look at seriously from a policy perspective.
Dr. Srinivasmurthy, thank you.
Take care.
Canada's annual inflation rate cooled down to 6.3% in December. Stats Canada says that's thanks to the big dip in fuel prices last month. But as Anis Hedari reports, relief at the gas pump is not cushioning the sticker shock at grocery checkouts.
Wholesalers like Roseland Produce see food price jumps before you do. Fruit and vegetables get shipped around Ontario from businesses like this. But the price of everything they need keeps going up, from labor to the food itself.
The costs now are pretty much unprecedented. We haven't seen them like this in years. We haven't seen them before at all, actually.
Some produce here has doubled in cost since before the pandemic.
We could be into the new normal of the price of produce.
It's a new normal that's landed on supermarket shelves.
I tend to watch prices all the time, and everything just keeps going up.
Anybody with a large family, that hurts.
It's hard to find vegetables that go on sale.
Vegetables, in particular, kept food prices soaring, up more than 13%. And even as overall inflation drops, experts say ongoing problems like weather and distribution mean food prices may not.
Saying that inflation is down still is, consistent with high elevated food prices. And I do think that we're going to be in this environment for a while.
And Canadians are not just spending more at the grocery store.
Unfortunately, now, in order to stay in business, a lot of restaurants and pubs are going to have to increase pricing.
Even if inflation drops, prices will continue to rise, just not as quickly. And anyone buying or selling food will need to adapt.
I don't think when prices go up, you ever really see prices go down. I think that's just the nature of being in business.
So food prices may keep getting hotter and won't be cooling off soon. Anis Hedari, CBC News, Calgary.
A BC man is among the casualties in Russia's war on Ukraine. We tell you about the 28-year-old from Port Alice and why he risked his life as a volunteer to help others. Stay with us.
Bit of advice if you're planning on going to the folk festival: don't dress like this. Far too formal. I mean, if you want to feel like a folk here at the festival, you got to dress in a more casual manner than this. It's a come-as-you-are soiree. Bring your beach chair and your blanket, and you're set for some fine entertainment. They make you pretty good to get in, $25 per person per day. But along with the main stage, there are 6 smaller stages with what they call workshops. That's where different performers get together and play.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know a lot about folk music, but one thing that always kind of struck me as fun was the names of the bands. Rare Air, the Horseflies, the Oyster Band. I don't know how good they are, but they've got neat names.
Great names, aren't they?
Good names. Are they any good?
They're fabulous.
Are they?
They're from all over the world. They represent, in many cases, the sort of cutting edge of the culture and the music that's going on in those places, and they represent what sort of folk is today. Love, Trust, and Pixie Dust, this isn't.
Besides music, there's other entertainment. People watching is always fun. Check out this character. He's from Seattle. Says he rode up here on his Magic 10-speed.
Well, Merlin's my name and Magic's my game.
How come you're dressed in a bathrobe?
Because this is excellent concert attire. Later tonight, it's great, I just feel comfortable.
Have you got any good magic you can show us?
I have some magic. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these 2 sticks together and magically connect them and say the words, I hope they work, because sometimes they don't. So that when I pull one string, the other string will tend to follow.
If that performance leaves you with a thirst or a hunger, no problem, lots of food here. But be prepared to stand in line. Organizers say they've got a good festival lined up, but it's all outdoors, so the only unknown is the weather.
This week, Vancouver is hosting the National Gathering on Unmarked Graves. The three-day conference is seeing delegates calling on agencies to release records that might help Indigenous communities identify children who went missing from residential schools. The call comes amid reports today that 170 possible unmarked graves were discovered at a former residential school in Western Ontario. Wamish Hamilton now with one participant who says the conference is also about healing.
The conference in downtown Vancouver is about data sovereignty and controlling information. Accessing records, church archival material, and other relevant documents has been a significant barrier for families and communities doing searches. This week's conference is the third in the National Gathering on Unmarked Burials series. Previous conferences were held in Edmonton and Winnipeg. This conference centers around data. But Phyllis Webstad is here to support fellow residential school survivors. She's also here to help heal her own trauma. Webstad wishes speaking her own language could be part of that journey.
I wish I knew my language so that I could have words to properly describe my feelings and what's happening. My mom is fluent, so I've always wanted to sit with her and to come up with some words, because the English language does not always cut it when it comes to feelings and emotions.
Phyllis and her mother requested and received their own residential school records. The postal boxes remain unopened, though. Holding the papers and reading about their stolen childhoods is too daunting yet.
I requested my records from the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation. I scanned the documents, but I have yet to sit and really look at it. I haven't been ready.
Non-Indigenous people need to heal from this experience too. There's no longer any reason not to know what from, Phyllis said.
There's no longer a reason for Canadians not to understand what happened to us. There's no excuses anymore. And we just need to keep talking about it, keep feeling the feelings, and that's what we're doing today.
The conference wraps up tomorrow with a second day of workshops and presentations. A fourth conference on Indigenous law is planned for Toronto. Wamish Hamilton, CBC News, Vancouver.
This coverage can be upsetting and invite painful feelings or memories. If you or someone you care about is looking for support, you can reach the National Residential School Crisis Line at 1-866-925-4419. It operates 24 hours and is available for survivors, intergenerational survivors, and their loved ones. Tonight, a Canadian family is mourning their son. He is the third confirmed volunteer from this country to die fighting in Ukraine. Sam Samson spoke to Grigory Sekmistrenko's father and friends about the path he took from BC to the deadly streets of Ukraine.
No matter where the camera found him, Grigory Sekmistrenko seemed to smile, especially surrounded by the natural beauty of his home on Vancouver Island.
He loves Canada. He loves the mountains.
Sekmistrenko's father says he died in the eastern city of Bakhmut over the weekend. A medic on the front lines, he went into a building to help 3 injured soldiers. Then that building was hit by a rocket.
He's a special boy. He was very special boy.
His parents have been in Kyiv since September to support him during the war. They spent 2 weeks together during Christmas.
When he feel love from us, in 2-3 days, he wanted to give hug, start to be our boy.
The 28-year-old and his parents moved to Kanistano, Saskatchewan in 2014. It's where he got his Canadian citizenship. In 2020, the family moved to BC to be near the ocean. Then, news of war came. Sekmistrenko's plan was to help out, then come back to Canada.
I didn't want that he goes. I really didn't want, because we have just only one son. But he said that Ukraine is my home, where I grew up. And there are our roots.
Despite warnings from Ottawa, an unknown number of Canadians have traveled to Ukraine to join the fight. Sekmistrenko is the third confirmed Canadian combat death.
He knew from the get-go, no matter what happened, he would go and fight for Ukraine.
Because I lost a part of me. He was really a part of my life. I don't have a full acceptance and understanding of situation, I guess, until funerals, I guess, until I see him.
Sekmistrenko's father says the funeral will be sometime this weekend. Friends and family will be there, along with soldiers he helped protect. Sam Sampson, CBC News, Regina.
Jury selection has started in the trial of Elon Musk in San Francisco. He's facing a class action lawsuit by Tesla investors. Musk faces allegations that he cheated investors by making a claim about an imminent buyout more than 4 years ago. In a tweet on August 7th, 2018, the billionaire said he had secured funding to take the electric automaker private for $420 a share. That fueled a rally in Tesla's stock price that abruptly ended a week later after that buyout didn't happen. Musk will have to explain his actions under oath in a federal court. The trial is expected to last until early February. Well, Swedish climate activist Greta Thunberg has been detained by police during a protest in Germany. Thunberg and several other protesters were carried away by police from the edge of an open-pit coal mine. They were demonstrating against the destruction of a village for the mine's expansion. All of those detained were released later in the day. The demonstration was one of several anti-mine protests held today in Germany. Britain's Metropolitan Police says it is reviewing more cases against its officers and employees from the past 10 years. As Abby Kugadasan reports, the force is facing fresh criticism after a police officer yesterday pleaded guilty to multiple charges of rape and other sexual offenses. A warning, you may find some of the details disturbing.
This high-profile abuse case involving a London police officer has sparked further accusations of misogyny and criticism that the Metropolitan Police was protecting its own, not the public. 12 victims have detailed a long list of horrific treatment by David Carrick, being restrained with police-issued handcuffs and left immobile for hours, forced to drink his urine, strangled and raped. One ex-partner says Carrick boasted he could kill her without leaving any evidence and that nobody would believe her over him, a cop. He has served in an elite unit tasked with guarding prime ministers and embassies and is accused of using his job to intimidate and terrorize his victims. The victims say they were afraid to leave him or press charges because of possible repercussions.
For anyone to have gone through such torment is harrowing, but for it to have happened at the hands of someone they entrusted to keep people safe is almost beyond comprehension.
Carrick has pleaded guilty to 49 criminal charges, including 24 counts of rape. He is expected to be sentenced in a few weeks. London police have now dismissed him, but they're under fire for failing to act over the last 2 decades. An ex-girlfriend had already accused Carrick of assault when the Met Police first vetted and hired him in 2001. In the years that followed, the force was made aware of 8 violent incidents involving women, but Carrick was not disciplined and carried on working. The police commissioner, Mark Rowley, says they've let the public down.
We've let London down over those 20 years. We missed opportunities when he joined, and subsequently, as behaviour came to the fore, that we should have removed him from policing.
The Metropolitan Police says it's currently investigating some 800 officers facing over 1,000 claims of domestic and sexual abuse. Abby Kugadasan, CBC News, London.
Some unusual news coming out of China tonight. For the first time in decades, it is recording a decline in its population. Renee Filipponi explains what's likely to blame.
Enjoying a winter day in Beijing, families are quick to explain why the population in China is sliding down. The cost of raising a child is too high, says this father of one. They have no plans to have another. 7 years ago, China ended its one-child policy, and incentives to encourage larger families haven't worked. More than 1 million fewer babies were born in 2022 than the year before, and the population fell by 850,000 people. This young couple plans to have children, but only when they have the financial means to do so. The economy has been struggling since China's COVID-0 policy shut down much of the country for 3 years. And despite the recent reopening, there is still anxiety.
They might lose a job right now. A lot of the factories, a lot of the
the shops, a lot of the high-tech companies, they cut off the labor force. And then if you run a small business, you don't have business. Your anxiety is very high to push you not to focus on to get more babies.
The Chinese president has made boosting birth rates a priority, well aware of the impact a declining population has on the economy.
There's going to have to be more redistribution to the elderly, building up Social Security, building up health insurance.
New data shows growth in China is at its lowest level in nearly half a century. The country's vice premier welcomed foreign investment at the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. And with the trend showing no signs of slowing, India is set to take over the title of most populated country in the world by the end of the year. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, Vancouver.
And Taiwan is seeing increasing pressure from China. As Evan Dyer reports, with incursions from China closer to Taiwanese territory, concerns over a Russian-style conflict is growing.
The incursions just keep getting bigger. Last week, 28 Chinese warplanes flew over the median line of the Taiwan Strait. Chinese warships hover off Taiwan's coast. And Taiwan's government never knows when a provocation could be the start of a real invasion.
The center line of the Taiwan Strait was respected by both sides of the Taiwan Strait. But the Chinese now fly their warplanes deliberately across the median line.
Beijing has always claimed Taiwan as Chinese territory, but lately the rhetoric is getting hotter. China responds more angrily when Canadian and Western politicians visit the island. Taiwan is rushing to upgrade its military, and both sides are watching events in Ukraine. At first, Putin's invasion seemed to present China with a model to follow and an opportunity to act while the West had its hands full with Russia. But Russia's bitter losses have instead given Taiwan reason to hope.
And that is something that we are learning from. And the Ukrainian military seems to be very effective in dealing with one of the most powerful military in the world.
But China is also learning from Russia's missteps, says Wu, and this former Obama administration official believes President Xi could be tempted to believe his forces can do better.
Xi Jinping is under enormous pressure domestically because of these huge COVID outbreaks, because of the downturn in the economy. And I think if he is looking to try to shore up domestic support, we may see him try to undertake what Biden termed at this time last year a minor incursion of Taiwan.
One possible target could be Taiwanese islands close to the shore of mainland China. That kind of operation, short of a full invasion of Taiwan, would present the West with a difficult choice on whether to intervene. The Trudeau government says it's already contributing to Taiwan's defense by sending frigates to patrol the Taiwan Strait. But unlike the Biden administration, it hasn't said what it will do in the event of a real attack. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
During the winter, it's common for black bears to hibernate, but not this year, at least not on the North Shore. That story and the photos after the break.
I love it because, you know, it's a long weekend that we love to get together and bring the family together and just, honestly, just have fun, a good, honest fun, and compete with everybody. And it's, I don't know, I feel like the camaraderie between all the community is the best part of it.
Okay. Down the left side, come back up the right.
Okay, left side of it.
Look out! Watch out!
When you drive up the road and you get to the lake, closer to the lake, you know you're going to have fun. You know it's going to be a blast. Whether you're in the race or just trying to dodge from not getting run over by an outhouse.
Land Back is a CBC original podcast where we uncover land theft in Canada and look at how Indigenous people are taking it all back.
And that's what empowered nations and empowered people to just literally steal land.
This is a consequence of your actions.
And it's time to give land back.
Land Back is out now on CBC Listen or wherever you get your podcasts.
A rare reprieve tonight from stormy weather in parts of California. Much of the state, though, is either soaking or just a muddy mess, leaving rescue crews scrambling to help. In Palm Springs, this truck was found nearly completely submerged. The fire department says the driver was able to get out unscathed. Now, flooding is an all too familiar sight in this country and in this province. Many have wrestled with the same question facing Californians: rebuild or relocate? Aaron Collins now with why some consider the answer obvious.
The rain is back on Sumas Prairie. The worries from the flood that hit here in 2021 never left.
I was scared, yeah, when you see the water in your house there, that much, like almost 4 feet water there.
This area submerged after an atmospheric river drenched this part of BC. The question now, should residents here stay and risk another flood or leave now?
I don't want to be moved, but if there's no choice, if they say no guarantee there, it's going to be, we don't want to see happen again.
It's a familiar scene from Manitoba to Quebec. Canadians living along rivers and other waterways dealing with extreme flooding.
These areas are undefendable. Their risk is too high, and they're simply no longer safe places to live, or perhaps they never were.
This part of High River, Alberta, was underwater in 2013. As the waters receded, officials here made a tough call. This former neighborhood, now a park.
You're telling people that they have to pack up and leave and find somewhere else to live.
A retreat from the river, giving it space to flood in the future.
So you make the decision not to build back the same way. What are you thinking there?
Safety and security was the number one reason why we did what we did. And we have to stop building in the middle of these areas and then wondering why we're getting throttled all the time.
Those same hard conversations are unfolding right now in California. Should climate change shift our relationship with waterways?
What we need to do is to step back a bit from the river, giving the river more room, not only to flood, but also to move and meander.
The floodwaters will return to Canada's rivers. The question is whether people should still be there when they do. Aaron Collins, CBC News, High River, Alberta.
Well, normally black bears here in BC like to skip the winter months, cozying up in a warm den till the season changes. But on the North Shore, that doesn't seem to be the case this year. The North Shore Black Bear Society says it receives photos like these daily. Black bear sightings in the community, lumbering through the snow and digging through garbage bins. The society says it's unclear what exactly is leading to this, but believes it's due to food being so readily available.
Nature tells them to go into hibernation when there's nothing left to eat, and they haven't had that message when they've found a really reliable source like dumpsters.
Miller says residents can do their part by ensuring their garbage is secured, an important step that can reduce the number of human-bear conflicts. Well, Joe, have you had any bear encounters over there on the North Shore this winter?
Not yet, but I am very grateful that I continue to secure my garbage bin out here, Anita.
Good
Yeah,
job.
I hadn't heard that yet. Thank you. I'm going to continue to do so. Funny enough, I was just very randomly Googling the hibernation period of the marmot on Vancouver Island.
Okay.
So, so I'm into this topic today. They are still in hibernation, but yeah, this is a new one for me. I'm looking forward to learning more as the researchers do. They're probably all in hiding today, though, because of the intense rain that continues to come down. Take a look at the radar. We saw those yellows show up. That's the intense rainfall, easing slightly, but it's still very heavy across Metro Vancouver. The darker greens really indicating that. And we have several hours more to go. Here's what the system looks like in the big picture. This is actually a low pressure system. The center of it about to move into Haida Gwaii. The cold front just trailing out there in the Pacific is what will slide through tomorrow morning, bringing some gusty winds. We have really yet to get into the winds. As far as rainfall totals go, the yellow bullseyes, that's the 40 to 60 millimeters for the North Shore up towards Howe Sound. Metro Vancouver, we're talking a general 10 to 20 and much less amounts as we get down towards the usual suspects in the rain shadow. All right, there's that low pushing inland. The cold front, there it is, sweeping through. So really seeing those winds pick up overnight into tomorrow morning. Parts of Metro Vancouver in the next 12 hours, you could see wind gusts coming in over 50 kilometers per hour. So just heads up if you're by the water, it is going to be windy, clearing quite dramatically for Wednesday late afternoon. And then look at that. That's a snapshot of Thursday. High pressure there, sticking around for a couple of days. So this is a system that we haven't seen in a while. We've sort of had atmospheric rivers. Instead, we've got a classic cold front, which means intense and windy, but clearing behind it. And we'll see some sunshine across the interior. Lovely to see that sun today in the Okanagan, but look for some flurries overnight into tomorrow morning and then ramping up to steadier snow tomorrow night. There's the morning rain and wind for us. I'm still hopeful we'll see a nice dramatic clearing just in time for sunset tomorrow. Notice Wednesday overnight temperature. We're getting down to the freezing mark, something we haven't seen in a while if you need to start preparing duvets and whatnot. Anita, after that, we've got a few more sunny breaks, but definitely colder temperatures. So we're not done with winter yet.
Okay, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yep, get your parka.
Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Fans on their feet here.
Well, for a small group of wrestling fanatics, it's the hottest ticket in town. Yes, pro wrestling has landed on Vancouver Island. We'll take you inside the squared circle next.
We're here in Clarenville, where work is continuing on this brand new rink outside of Riverside Elementary School. Now, this rink is a gift from a local resident to pretty much all of the young people in Clarenville. Joining me now is the vice principal of Riverside Elementary, Jill Monk. So can you tell us how all of this came about?
Well, it was really a surprise for us. We had two community members, friends of Mr. Wendell Moore, Jackie and Keith Drudge, visit our school last spring with a proposal. They explained to us that Mr. Moore was looking to do a community project, and he was really interested in doing something that would be a legacy piece for his wife, but would be something that children in the community would benefit. So one of his ideas was an ice rink. So they asked if we thought it would be possible to help make his dream a realization, and wondered if the school would be a possible site for that plan. So it all just kind of went from there, you know, just knowing the backstory and knowing Mr. Moore. It was a no-brainer, obviously, for us to try to make it a reality.
The work really seems to be coming along here. It's really taking shape. Can you talk about the logistics of putting something like this together?
So I have to say Mr. Moore and Joe Brewer have been an integral part in all the actual building of the site. For us, it was just a matter of keeping our children in some days when they would have liked to have been outside, but they've totally taken care of all the construction. So once we had all our approvals and support from the school board, it was just full steam ahead.
Mm-hmm. And what has the reaction been from the children, knowing that this is going to be here?
Well, at first, I'm not really sure they knew what was going on. We kind of kept it a little bit of a secret first, but now they're certainly getting excited, knowing that the end of the project's near and they'll soon get to use the rink for skating. And then in the spring and summer, we plan to use it for some ball hockey and soccer as well.
It's fantastic. It's beautiful. It's a nice big space. There are some lights up there. It looks like it's going to be beautiful when it's finished.
It is. It's really going to be amazing. Like, what an addition to our school community and just our community as a whole. It's a fantastic gift for sure.
And a lovely tribute to Wendell's late wife.
Yes, absolutely. You know, to Mr. Moore and his wife never had children, so to want to do a project to benefit children, I think is just so wonderful.
And how much longer is it going to be before the rink is finished?
Well, of course, that's weather pending now, but we're hoping within the next few weeks to have the project completed and be able to get the ice on. And then we'll make plans, of course, for a special opening for the facility and to get all our children out for a chance to skate. So, and I do anticipate we'll see Mr. Moore around for sure. And, you know, obviously we can't thank him enough and Joe Brewer enough for making this a reality for our children.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, in case you missed it, there was a huge concert announcement this week.
The best-selling female artist of all time, Madonna.
I definitely missed it, and I'm pretty excited about this one. The Material Girl is going on a new Greatest Hits World Tour, and her first stop will be here in Vancouver. Yes, Madonna, the celebration tour, kicks off at Rogers Arena. She'll also play shows in Toronto and Montreal in August. The tour is to celebrate the 40th anniversary of Madge releasing her breakout single, Holiday. Oh, can't wait. Hopefully I can get a chance to check it out. Finally, tonight, it may just be the hottest ticket in all of Esquimalt. 365 Pro Wrestling brings pro wrestling to communities up and down Vancouver Island, and they've found themselves a small but passionate audience. Take a look.
Oh! It is physical theater, it is live entertainment, it's body slamming, hard-hitting action. It's pro wrestling, and it's at the truest sense where you can sit a foot from the ring and watch 2, 3, 4 wrestlers compete and entertain you.
Fans on their feet here.
The atmosphere in here is absolutely electric. You have never felt any kind of atmosphere until you've been to a local independent wrestling show, especially one like this. The fans, they bring the energy. It starts building. Our actual show, it's non-stop excitement, it's non-stop noise, it's non-stop interactive entertainment. It's great.
You might not even like wrestling, but you want to go out with all your buddies. You come here, you can get a drink, you can get food, you can interact and have fun. A lot of people come for the first time, like, wow. I love when you see two wrestlers having a great matchup and then just watching the fans get engaged into it and like really feel something. It's kind of like the world's crazy, right? You can come here and forget everything in the world and just have a good time.
You don't get closer to the action than here. We've had the wrestlers literally will reach out from the ring to their fans that their fingertips can touch. And that's where the electrifying, that connection really happens. This is my thing. I come here, I yell at these folks, they yell back at me, they insult me, I insult them, it's great.
That is it. Osborne is...
My excitement for Madonna, a little greater than this, but who knew there were so many wrestling fans on Vancouver Island specifically. I'm told wrestling does well anywhere you go. Thanks for watching CBC Vancouver News tonight. I'll see you tomorrow.